Your light is absolutely needed. Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I am a master manifester, and I'm sure you are too because you are consuming content like this. The name of this channel is Holistic Manifesting because I believe in the whole body, whole mind, and whole being experience when it comes to manifesting these amazing lives that we choose. What I'm discussing in this video is the fact that your light is absolutely needed. If we think about the world that we live in, and believe me, I'm an optimist. I'm the kind of person that's always looking for the brighter side of things. That's always looking for, well, isn't there a way out? Can't we just rally up and get it going? I'm always in that mindset. I rarely deal with, fears that life is going to crumble and fall apart, because in my mind, it's like there's always going to be something else. There's always going to be another opportunity. There's always going to be a way out. And that's just the way I've always thought most of the time. Whenever I've had deep anxiety is when I moved away from that mindset, was when I moved away from that core aspect of who I am. And I allowed other people and places and environments to tell me that, no, it's going to be doom and gloom. No, you got it wrong. No, you can't do this by yourself. No, you can't figure it out. Right. And I remember somebody was asking me about something I was working on in the past couple of years. Since then, I've accomplished this particular goal. And the first question they asked me was like, you're going to go do that by yourself? And I was like, I never even thought about that, because first of all, I always feel like I'm teamed up with the creator. I always feel like a co-creator no matter what. That's just who I am. I always feel that way. And so when they were just like, you're going to go do it by yourself. And I was just like, you may be operating in this world by yourself, but I don't operate by myself. I operate with source energy. I operate with being in alignment and tapping into that aspect of who I am at all times. So when you think like that and you are that type of person, you have to understand that the light that you bring into the room, the light that you shine, is absolutely needed. Think about a room that's filled with darkness to the brim. Think about going into a high school gymnasium or something. And I remember being in school after hours and stuff. And if it's a high school gymnasium and it's dark and like say that it doesn't have many windows or whatever, and we were looking through the door of it because it was like off limits, and we were at like, remember those things they used to have when you would go to school at nighttime to go see the teachers and all that? I forget what it was called, but it was like teacher's night or parent night or something like that. Anyway, it was one of my favorite things when I was a kid. But we were peeking through like the gymnasium window, and it was pitch black, right? And like all we did was crack the door, like the tiniest sliver of light. And all of a sudden our eyes adjusted and the room was illuminated enough for us to walk through and see what was in there, right? If you think about that, having a lighter or a light, whatever, and you're in a room full of complete and utter darkness, if there is one tiny bit of light, the darkness can't overtake. The darkness disappears when light shows up. One is way more powerful than the other, right? The darkness is only powerful when the light is not allowed in. Once that light has the opportunity to show itself, the darkness has no power. Right? You can't go into a room and turn the dark on. No, what you do is walk into a room that's already dark, and then you turn on the light. And so when we walk into this world and we do things and we operate, we have to remember that our light is 100% needed all the time. Like in medieval times, if you ever watch those period shows or either just read medieval novels and books and stuff like that, you'll find that one of the most vulnerable times that people existed was during the nighttime. And one of the most important pieces of technology that they could have was a torch. And the reason why is because in the darkness, people who were operating in mischievous ways, that's where they had the biggest range. But if you had a torch, if you had a light, then you can see them coming from a mile away. You can illuminate your home. You can illuminate the castle. You can illuminate the forest. You can illuminate things. Once things are illuminated, then the darkness dissipates. It doesn't want to be seen. One of the biggest deterrents when you find out about buying a house and they're saying, what's the way you don't get your house broken into? They're going to say, put lights around it. And the reason why they say put lights around it, because they know anybody who wants to do anything mischievous, they don't want to be seen. They don't want cameras to pick them up. They don't want, floodlights to pop on when they walk up underneath your window trying to steal a package or something like that, right? I've had one package stolen from me. Well, when I lived in apartments, I had several packages stolen. They went missing. I don't know. I think other people was taking them. But living in a house, I had one package stolen from me, and you best believe I light up everything. I light up the alleyway on both sides. I light up the back. I light up the inside of the garage. I light up everything. And the reason why I light up everything, because I've learned that is the number one deterrent. I've never had anything happen again since then. The number one deterrent that keeps people out of the way. So if you remember that aspect of who you are, what you bring to the table is somehow expanding or growing or evolving the world into a positive space, it is most definitely needed. One of the biggest reasons why I sit here and create these videos and get on YouTube and share information is because I always see myself as a light. I see myself as an expander, as a thought provoker, as somebody who's been able to collect wisdom doing certain things, even though I have not lived a perfectly emotionally expanded life. I'm human like everybody else, but I've learned a lot from those things. And for whatever reason, I've been given the ability to wordsmith, to be able to speak those things out and to be able to write those things out in very clear and understandable terms. And that's probably why teaching is something that I've always done at the college level and stuff, is because I've always been able to say, hey, well, what about this idea? And so because of that aspect of who I am, I already know that what I'm doing and how I'm showing up in this world is absolutely needed. I think one of the worst things that we can believe is that just because we don't see an overwhelming impact, or we don't see a subscribership show up all of a sudden. Oh, speaking of that, I'm at 3,000 subscribers. I'm going to do a little video on it. Nonetheless, we don't see the feedback coming back immediately. We don't see the level of accolades showing up for us, that we think that somehow it's not something that's valuable, but it's just not true. You never know when the right people are hearing your information or what you have to share at any given time. And if you walk around and you're always thinking I'm a light, guess what? Anywhere you go and anywhere you in your day, you're gonna, ward off the darkness. I can go up. I was just in Whole Foods this morning, and I walked up to the register. The people were talking to each other that worked there, the bagging guy and then the girl. And the girl was like, acting like I didn't exist, whatever. And I was like, good morning. I was like, well, how are you? And she was like, oh, I'm fine. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I put my stuff up there because I was like, no need to push or whatever. But I was like, I'm in a good mood. It's a good day. It's raining. It's pouring down raining, but it's a beautiful day. Like, it's a nice, although somebody was like, well, maybe she didn't want to be at work. Not my business. It's always people that don't want to be at work. And so, I was picking up my things and I, paid for it and everything. And I was like, well, you have a good day. She was like, you have a good day too. And so like her disposition had shifted from the moment I walked up into when I was actually leaving and walking away. And I was trying to find a place to put my basket little hand thing. And she was like, oh no, I'll get it. You can just leave it here. And so just that little quick moment of, what if I was trying to match her energy? What if I was trying to meet her little gloom with my own little level of gloom, then what would we have? We would have just a whole bunch of doom and gloom and a cloud of ugliness. So if we walk around the world and think like, what, my light is needed. You never know who you're shining it on. You never know what they're going through. You never know what they've been through. You never know what they're facing at any given time. And you may just be the person that gives them something that they need, that gives them something that they, that is going to shift and change them in a major way. And especially if you teach or something like that. I've had students come back and show up on LinkedIn and all and was just like, I just want to say that you inspired me and you really helped me and you showed me how to do blah, 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 blah. And I love the way this was all this and the thought process was that. And it's because I was always really good at still am able to walk into the classroom and completely take my own self off the table and decide I'm here to serve these people. So teaching a subject like sociology can be, very, you gotta walk on, what do they call it? Eggshells sometimes, because you're kind of stepping on people's personal lives because they haven't separated themselves from the information. So when you go in there, you have to separate yourself and you have to be the pure light that comes in and says, okay, so we don't like that, but what about this? So what type of research do you think that needs to be done if these statistics are not true? Or what type of programs do you think that we could create to combat these type of statistics with this demographic and this environment, at this given time that we're experiencing? So when it's all said and done, we're not sitting there in our emotion and our personal feelings. We're walking away feeling solution based. We're walking away feeling the light of the world as opposed to the heaviness of the world. Because I used to always tell people sociology is a heavy topic to teach, man. Every time I'm in there, I feel like I'm just like bashing down dreams and hopes and all that stuff. I feel like I'm doing that experiment. You know, the one where they do take 2 steps if you had 2 parents in the home. Take 3 steps if you ever paid a bill for your parents. Take this many steps if you were able to go to college. And the community college is when I really saw it. But at the university level, a lot of it is the same thing too. And so what you find is like, I was always like, how can I bring some light to this subject? And it was a constant motivation for me to bring my best self to the classroom. And so that's how we have to be in life. We have to look at the world like it's a classroom and think like, you know what? What's my light? What's my torch? And how can I illuminate the world, right? Whether it's through singing, whether it's through dancing, whether it's through orating and, sharing wisdom and truths, whether it's through enlightening others on things that they may have not understood, right? That's why I never understand these, YouTube channels and things where they're just spewing hatred all day, every day. And I'm like, doesn't that get in you and on you? And I was telling somebody, I don't know who it was before, there's this person I used to listen to for a second, and the guy was cool and all, but I realized is that he was super bitter. And years later, as like I chimed in, I was like, hey, I wonder if that guy's still on YouTube. He still is, still spewing the same old stuff, right? And he's, got the audience just like he had before. And I was thinking to myself how when you start in that bitterness and that ugly place like that, and that darkness, you have to stay there in order to keep the crowd sometimes, right? And I'm so grateful that even when I'm having these negative days, or I'm having days where I want to rant and I want to like rip things apart and like share things that I know are going to be popular to a lot of people, but just negative for the soul, that I don't follow through with it. And the reason why I'm so grateful for that is because I believe that the light that's inside of me is needed way more than that darkness I got to share. You can look around for the darkness every 5 seconds, everywhere you go, right? So just keep that in mind whenever you're thinking about sharing something with the world or giving something to the world. Even my book, I don't know where I put it. That's not there. Oh, I think I brought it downstairs. Too bad. My new book, Thriving Solo, it's available on Amazon. Even when I think about the book, there's a lot of avenues I could have went down when it comes to talking about being a single mom, but I chose none of the ones that are just dark. And the reason why is because I didn't live my life that way, so I'm not going to spew it off to other people. And even when I share information about being married and not being fully supported after divorce and all this stuff, the next sentence I go to, but this book is not about what men do or what men don't do, what fathers do or what fathers don't do. While we already know that this situation is existing. You are currently a person raising children primarily by yourself. This is what you do now. So that's my mindset. It's always been that same way. How can you illuminate the world? How can you give something rather than just add to more of the gloominess and darkness that everybody is experiencing all the time anyway? Anyway, your light is needed. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.